Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time. Apologies, first and foremost, to the DGI community for the delay. And I really appreciate the understanding from Pius and Wizard. As again, this is one I was pretty excited to have come by. So I am really happy that you guys were able to jump in. DGI Game is one that launched on January 17th, launched on Ethereum. And again, very outside the box scope. Not really, but traditionally, P2E GameFi projects are all about putting the onus essentially in the user's hands in terms of generating their revenue. Well, that's where the team here at DGI, which if you break it down stands for Decentralized Gaming Income, kind of wanted to shake things up. So they already have an established guild, their DGI Gamer Guild, which oh, pretty impressive numbers. Generated already $400,000, is exactly 376K in revenue during December, of which 50% will be allocated back to those that are participating currently in their staking protocol, which you can go onto the website and find the specific link for the staking to check out kind of how you guys can participate. But we're going to break down all the terms and everything as well throughout the AMA. And it allows you to earn passive income as the game generates revenue via their high value in-game assets. So again, it's really unique. It's not your traditional GameFi setup where sustainability becomes the main focal point because it's about native token. These guys, when the revenue is distributed, you're not receiving your revenue back in DGI tokens. It's actually being distributed monthly in USDC, which doesn't have that negative pressure and that sell pressure that we see with so many of these gaming projects on the chart. So again, that's why I like the concept. And I mean, the chart itself is impressive. The numbers on the revenue are impressive. And the fact that these guys are going outside of the box for me is really what kind of has me excited. And you could probably hear it in my voice. So again, it is my first time working with the team, but I love the mentality that they're kind of bringing into the space. And yeah, it's less than a month old, but very impressed so far by what they've been able to generate. And obviously, the guild has been around from before the token launch. And it's stuff like that that I like to see with projects that we bring on board. So, again, very impressed so far. Happy to have you guys here on the channel. You guys are looking like a really solid mid to long term project. And I'll throw you the mic there, Wizard, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Maurice. Just a quick background on myself. I've been a kind of a serial entrepreneur since I dropped out of college when I was 19. I guess the common thread for my businesses is that they're all in emerging industries. Crypto caught my attention in 16, 17, started dabbling, became very mentally stimulated by the whole aspect of decentralization with a monetary instrument. And so, played in crypto through 16, 17, 18, 19. And then I started to look at, in 2021, I started to look at gaming and how it was starting to come through a crossroad with NFTs and cryptocurrency on the blockchain, and how this could be a real world use case for how a potential digital currency would interact in our real society, and how NFTs would interact in our real society. It was almost like a virtual use case of what we might see in the future. And it really caught my attention. So I actually got pretty heavily involved in Axie Infinity in 21 when that whole craze came to be. And I saw the huge parabolic lift, and then it came crashing down. I'm like, all right, they were onto something, but they didn't execute properly, and their structure was wrong for their in-game economy. So in 21, I started looking around. Early 21, I started looking around at some other games or teams that I thought were going to build play to earn economy gaming system, but also we're going to do it and pull it off in a much better fashion, so that the game would be sustainable and we would actually see what the real world might look like in 10, 15 years, utilizing digital currencies, utilizing NFTs instead of papers and titles and contracts. And so I started investing in a handful of different games where I believed in the leadership team. And I made a very large investment into Big Time in 2021. I think I was one of the first investors, actually, me and Ashton Kutcher and some other well-known people. And so I was just very impressed with the team and what they were putting together, which they didn't actually know exactly what it was going to be back then. And so that's really when all these gaming assets came together. We started with a name, DGG, Decentralized Gaming Guild, and that name's still floating around as well, and also DGI Gamer, which is our username for our current games. So there's really two names floating around. You'll see in our white paper, there's DGG. You'll see on our, some of our videos, you'll see DGI Gamer, because that is our username in our different guild gaming assets. And we just did a tour for our big time gaming assets, actually. So with that being said, big time has kind of materialized into I would say the apex of the Web3 gaming world at this point. They've created quite a beast on their hands, and it's the first game that's never released tokens. And the only way to get the token is to go play the game and get the token in the game. So it created this almost this magical hunt and want for this token. And as you can see, it's they were projecting the token to come through the market at like 1 cent or 1.5 cents, and I think it's gotten as high as 85 cents, and it currently trades between 30 and 40 cents. So it's an extremely lucrative business model for gamers that want to play the game. And we were lucky enough to be such a massive asset holder in the game. I think we're the largest, actually. I think we have over 10,000 in-game assets in big time. More than YGG, more than Merit Circle. And all of a sudden we had this, we had lightning in a bottle. We had this game that was producing massive revenue, $300,000-$400,000 a month in revenue. And so we're like, maybe we could use this as an engine to get us to become something more than just a guild. And we decided to launch a token last month now. And we wanted the community to be able to participate in our performance. And so instead of just launching another guild token like a lot of the others and fractionalizing ownership, we said, why don't we let the community earn part of our revenue based on our performance of what games we invest in, what assets we hold, and how well we monetize those assets in the game. And so that's what we did, is we came up with DGI, the Decentralized Gaming Income token, and people get that. They're not going to get the native token back as a staking reward. They're going to get the stable token back as the staking reward. And over time, our goal is to actually let the community vote and say, all right, do we want to take the income as a staking distribution? Do we want to use the income to do token buybacks and help the token's price stabilize and go up? Do we want to use use this month's money to buy more gaming assets to further increase the revenue and further increase the staking rewards? So that's kind of where we're at now. And then I started looking at the games that are out there. Let's use big time as an example, because it's the holy grail at this point in time. And I started looking at how much revenue big time was producing. And it was staggering numbers of how much money big time the game is actually making. And big time is actually an ecosystem of many games. OpenLoot owns big time, which owns a handful of other games. But big time is their shining star at the moment. So I'm looking at big time like, wow, this game is producing so much revenue, but really the players are only getting rewarded in the game. What if we had almost something that looks like a studio token, and the studio has a portfolio of games, and the token holders get a piece of all of the action of all the games, of the revenue that the game produces, not just the gaming assets from a guild. And so really our goal here over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months and beyond is to transition from a guild model into a gaming studio model, to where the DGI token holders actually will realize profits from the games, not just the gaming assets, which will be much, much more sizable and lucrative than just some gaming assets if we do our job right and do the games. So with the games, what we're doing now is we're trying to build the largest gaming community that we possibly can. And so that when we launch our games, and by the way, we're negotiating on 2 games now, and we have our first game launching in-house within the next 90 to 100 days. So you'll see the first DGI game launching in 3 to 4 months at the latest. And a good, healthy portion of those revenues will pour back to the DGI token community. From there, we want to continue launching games, and we want to become a full-blown gaming studio where the DGI token holders get to realize a profit from everything that we do. so that it's not just a guild's revenue, it's a gaming studio's revenue. And we believe that we can launch, 3 to 5 games by the end of 2024. And we're very confident in the team's ability to do that. So that's where we're at, Maurice. That's what we're working on. And happy to let you hop in and potentially we can jump on some more questions.
Well, I mean, again, just really impressed. I'm kind of chatting with Pius a little bit behind the scenes, and I was saying, like, really impressed by the way you speak to the project. For me, I joke, like, in this space, if I'm going to be known as anything, I'm going to be known as like the why guy. Because for me, you can do things, but what you're doing, why you're doing it, has to make sense, right? And I think a lot of the times when we talk about traditional business, that is a very important aspect. But we come into DeFi or crypto, and it seems like that is a little bit less important, and people focus sometimes more on the hype. So I'll say, from what I've heard and what I've seen in my research, the why and the reasoning behind the scaling and the timing on the product and the ecosystem there makes sense. And hearing that you guys are following kind of from an opportunity that arose. I think a lot of the times, if you think about brands or companies, products that have existed, why do they exist, right? Wizard, it's a problem or a gap is there, and a solution tries to form to fill that gap, right? And I think what you said in your introduction with regards to the gaming sector as a whole in crypto, and what you guys are doing, kind of modeling it after the hype you've seen in terms of big time with not releasing tokens and pushing really people to actually utilize the game, and that's kind of caused the game and the token itself to really see the value intrinsically go up. So, like, for me, the why has to make sense in like what you're saying. Strategically, it does. Now, from a expansion perspective, you mentioned that you guys do have a large amount of assets within big time and are the largest in-game asset holder. Well, for me, as we've seen quickly in this, or sometimes too quickly in this space, things can shift. So what's the plan from a differentiate or a diversity or diversification, that's the word I was looking for, standpoint when it comes to your portfolio and your assets, so that should, for example, one project or one token, one community maybe suffer, the revenue and the overall returns that your community members from your end on the staking side at DGI won't dip too hard, because that's when you really start to see the interest start to fall off, the sell pressure maybe start to come if people unload larger amounts after their stakes are done. So yeah, that's kind of really what I wanted to take the conversation next.
Yeah. So that's a great question, Maurice. Well, we have assets in 5 other games now. We have them in mech.com. It's basically a mechanical robot fighting game with augmented reality that will be launched later this year. We're a very heavy asset holder in that game. We also invested pretty heavily in Ignite tournaments. They're supposed to be launching later this year. We also have assets in Introverse, another play to earn game that's supposed to be launching this year. We're in negotiations with a couple more games that the big time team is going to be launching later this year, and that we think that could have this same type of hype and potential that big time does. We're also negotiating with Gunzilla as well to see if we can come in before they launch the game and see if there's an economic interest that makes sense for us and all of our token holders. And then we're also talking to Shrapnel, even though the launch wasn't what we were hoping and anticipated. So we definitely are in discussions and already have assets in many other games. But really, what our goal here is to launch our own game in the next 3 to 4 months. And that revenue, if we do this correctly, accordingly, should very quickly surpass any guild revenue that we're producing. So our goal is to continue investing in diversification of different play to earn games, but also launch our own games, so to ensure that we have stability, in the coming months, years, and as long as humanly possible.
Oh, and I guess from a um I guess, a valuation standpoint, what's the valuation of the assets that you guys are holding right now at DGI or, in your DGG worth?
About 10 million in today's value.
Oh God, that's all. Yeah, it's not a small amount. So definitely, that brings me to another important question because, when we talk about scaling and DeFi or kind of taking it to the next level, from gaming or specific sectors, a lot of the times, in my opinion, again, it may not be 100% factual, but this is just the way I see it. VC funding does have to kind of come into play. And in order to secure funding, you have to have collateral or assets to be able to kind of back against that, right? So from a traditional financial funding perspective, that's kind of where my question about the asset valuation comes in, right? Because I understand that if you're ever to go, trying to get some partnerships or secure some additional funding, well, you do have to show them some favorable numbers. Let's just say that. So really impressive. And that definitely bodes well in your favor as you potentially look to start some of those conversations, right? So awesome.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. But we did actually just close a deal with a VC. 3M Capital is a large crypto VC, and we closed a sizable deal with them. And so you'll be seeing a lot more about that coming out as well. Very excited to bring on a powerhouse like 3M.
Yeah, that's really exciting stuff. And, like I said, the why makes sense from what I'm hearing and what I've seen so far in my research and what you're doing on the scalability standpoint. But let's talk to, the other challenge I think that's impacted a lot of, GameFi products in the decentralized sector, which is user-based growth or user adoption, right? And because you're not getting people to actually have to download a game, sign in, play daily, like there's a different feel, right? That you guys are building up. You're gaming adjacent, but you're not a traditional like P2E or anything like that. So I wanted to have you just kind of break down the way that you try and push into the GameFi sector, considering it's not at this point a traditional kind of gaming product in the sense that it's more passive income until you start to incubate and release your own games that people would be able to participate in via assets.
So a lot of people ask us, hey, why did you guys release a token? You have a successful guild. You guys are cash flowing 6 figures a month. Why not just keep doing that? And obviously, we're not just releasing a token to be like, hey, we just want to give back to the community. This is a total humanitarian effort. Obviously, there's a reason that our company wanted to do that. And the reason is we wanted to build a massive gaming community. And the way we wanted to build a massive gaming community was by giving back rewards to the community through staking. And so by giving back a sizable portion of our performance and our revenue, our goal was to entice people to want to join our community and be part of our community and make money with us. And so our whole goal with launching DGI at this point is to build a very sizable community so that when we do start launching our own games, hopefully everyone is very happy with what we've been doing and how we've been responsibly running the company, giving back to our community. And hopefully, the goal is, hey, these guys have done a great job so far. They've come through on everything that they said they were going to do. Let's start hopping into their games with them that they're releasing, and let's start becoming more immersed into the DGI movement versus just being a passive staking reward holder.
I love that. And kind of walk us through, for example, like as you guys go from the process of being the more guild-centric model, like the way you're set up now, to transition to more of that a gaming studio token, in which your vision and kind of one of your goals is on the roadmap, like what, I guess, from an involvement standpoint, would a user have to expect? So right now, to earn passive income, they buy DGI, they stake DGI, they get a monthly revenue payout in the form of USDC based on, I'm assuming the percentage of whatever their stake is compared to the overall amount. And then broken down on 50% of the revenue coming in. That's how I would understand it works currently. So what would now, as you guys scale up, like what would those additional value adds or the additional participation rights look like for somebody who's holding that DGI token?
So there's going to be a couple of things. First of all, if we do our job correctly and these games are a hit, then the amount of rewards that the stakers will receive should substantially go up. That's first and foremost. Second, each game will have its own token. And so the DGI token will be the universal token. If you want to exchange your DGI token to go play one of these games or be active in one of these games, you'll be able to exchange DGI tokens for whatever in-game token that may be inside of the game. So you can become active in the game utilizing your DGI tokens. We're also exploring with a couple of our advisors, looking at potential nodes for that sit inside of our gaming ecosystem where you can actually stick your DGI tokens to receive further rewards through the nodes. So we're looking at that as well. And then we just want to keep layering on more and more utility and versatility to the DGI token so that the holders can get as much experience through gamification as possible.
That's wicked, man. Again, now one of the ways I've seen, I don't know if this is potentially in the roadmap, but one of the ways I've seen some of these, larger GameFi projects go is if there's some form of staking or passive income generation, they may go towards some form of a DAO formation to allow community participation and maybe games that they would look to incubate or investments that they would look to undertake as a company. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of DAOs. I mean, I'll say that, but it kind of makes sense in gaming, but I'm still not the biggest fan of DAOs because, there's just becomes too many opinions, and a lot of the times holders are looking at things from a profit perspective, not the vision that the team had when they undertook the project. So I feel like as DAOs grow and projects kind of scale, the decisions being made become more and more about the money involved and not about sustaining and maintaining the vision, which, when you start chasing money, you're going to probably see the project fall off within a year. And that's a lot of the times what happens. So just curious, your take, more of an open-ended question on what you guys would see there from community involvement or DAO formation.
So, and I agree with you, Maurice. I think there's pros and cons to that structure. I love getting the community involved, but at the same time, it can sometimes the shareholders of a token end up voting for what's best for them and not what's best for the company. Um, and so, it's a double-edged sword, right? So we're looking at maybe a hybrid model, and to be honest, we're not, in my opinion, we're not even close to the size we need to become a DAO. I'd like to see more like a 9-figure market cap, potentially 10, to really become a true DAO. But what I will say is that in the near future, we are going to be doing a lot of community voting. Maybe not so much as to the direction of the overall company, but definitely, hey, which one of these 3 games would you like to see released in the next 4 months? Hey, the company made $1 million this year. Would you want the $1 million to go to reward staking? Would you want the $1 million to go to token buybacks? Would you want it to be a hybrid 50-50 split? Would you want it to be invested into more games so that we can further increase the revenue and the company's trajectory? So we do want to get the community very involved of certain things within the company, but maybe not the overall vision and execution plan of the company, if that makes sense.
And again, it's kind of a, we're not, the way I took that is it's like we're not shutting the door on that conversation as of yet, but to announce anything or to say it's going to happen right now, we would not know because we'd have to grow and have some additional kind of things happen or catalysts happen to get to that point, right? So nope, nothing wrong at all with that answer. And yeah, like again, if you guys can really just, it's a different model here. So I think the greed factor, I guess if you can call it that, may not play in as much. But still it's always kind of the battle that a DAO has to rage on internally against, is just the different mentality, the different mindsets of their I guess opinion or thought leaders. So Yeah, no, I respect that answer, and it definitely makes sense. It aligns kind of with what else you guys are doing. So from a now I do want to go into more on like the studio or what you guys would hope in terms of building out. Are there any specific types of games that you guys are looking at in the early stages? Are there any that you maybe have seen work a little bit better in terms of the space from an adoption sustainability so that your own internal kind of gaming ecosystem has less stress put on it?
I don't think anyone in the Web3 play to earn game space has nailed a real in-game economy or been
Honestly,
able.
the answers you give are great because they're honest. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have to say that. Like
No,
people
no.
will sometimes sit up here to him and haw to try and figure out what sounds the best or is the perfect answer because they think it's what I want to hear. Little do people know what I want to hear is what's actually truthful or like feasible, right? So I'll stop there. Go ahead, but your
Well,
answers are on point. So just have to say that.
so Maurice, one thing you'll know about me is I'm going to give you the real answer, whether people like it or not, and that's just me, and that's how I've always been. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I'll just tell you exactly what I think. And so I appreciate your feedback on that as well. And I just think being honest and transparent gets us to the finish line a lot quicker than trying to beat around the bush. So what I'll tell you is I don't think anyone's nailed the play to earn gaming economy at all. I don't think anyone has the right answer as to how you even do it. The issue is no one's figured out how to make a really cool game, but get the economy to layer into that game so that you have to play the game to its fullest effect to get a monetary incentive. I'll give you an example. Axie Infinity. They just battled their little furries all day and made some money and created sell pressure and destroyed the game. Big time, they've created a much more robust economy that has a lot more levers that can be controlled to a certain extent so that there won't be a nightmare crash like Axie. But the problem is they built a really cool game, but no one's really playing the really cool game because everyone's too worried about making money in the game. And so they have this really cool game. They have a very lucrative token, but they can't get the two to deeply intertwine so that everyone is playing the game to its fullest effect. And if they did, they'd be like, wow, this is an amazing game that was created and you can make money. So everyone's trying to figure out, how do we make a really cool game and how do we get the money or the monetary incentives to layer into that game so that people have to play it. People figure out ways around playing the game to make the money, and that's human nature. What's the path of least resistance to make the most money possible? That's how humans think. So we're exploring several different options, whether that be a battling game, whether that be a first-person shooter, or whether that be simple games like, we play Pong for wagers and money. So we're looking at, potentially different simplistic gambling games. We're looking at one-on-one battle games. We're looking at first-person shooter games and a couple of others. And we're just trying to figure out what the best fit's going to be for us to ensure that we have a game with longevity, to ensure that users get the most out of the game while still achieving a monetary incentive, and to ensure that we have I would say, a diversified ecosystem of different types of games. We want to have a first-person shooter. We want to have a battle game. Maybe we wanted to have a role-playing game at some point with real economy, real NFTs inside. But we just got to figure out what makes the most sense to launch first. I think having games that are maybe a little bit more simplistic early on, not from a graphical standpoint. I want to have fully immersed VR type of games, and we're working on some really, really cool things. I can't wait to announce them to you guys. But I also want to have things that are not too intricate early on because, like, for example, Big Time, they built this very sexy, cool game. Not many people are actually playing the game. Everyone's running around collecting hourglasses trying to get the tokens. So we're trying to find a happy medium, a hybrid, a middle road where we have a really cool game. We have a monetary incentives that's completely intertwined into that game to its fullest extent, and people can have fun playing the game and making money at the same time. So I hope that answers your question, Maurice.
It does. And again, like very, very candid, but very honest and truthful in terms of what you said that nobody has perfected the P2E. Because if they did, I think you'd see a lot more of them launching, right? And you haven't really seen much hype in the P2E space in a little while because yeah, even the larger players like Axie, which achieved, record numbers and user base and whatnot, that like you said, the model that they had didn't sustain and became kind of, unfair to the smaller holders, which was another kind of topic or subject matter that I wanted to get into, which is kind of how you guys balance, the difference between larger holders or stakers of DGI and those smaller individuals who a lot of the time may have the time to play the game because, if you go back to Axie with their whole scholarship portal or whatever, where there's these whales with people kind of grinding under their accounts to earn the money, and then they would split a small percentage of whatever they earned to those kind of what they had a specific name, I forget now because it's been a while, but like they had, I think they were called like they had like a schooling term, but yeah, like pretty much you would have people underneath you grinding on your account with your NFTs to earn you money, and then you would give them a small percentage back as kind of like a daily wage. I didn't like that personally because it was kind of like digital slavery, in a sense, and that's what a lot of people said, and that was a lot of people's negative feedback on that. So yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on just how you guys are going to manage the larger and smaller wallets and making sure that both opinions really are thought of and kind of catered to as you guys grow up.
Yeah, and so that's a great question. I will tell, and I agree with you on Axie. It was almost like capitalism inside of a game where you had these asset lords, and then they had all of these, poor Filipinos and whatnot working for pennies on the dollar to make them hundreds of thousands a month, maybe even more, right? So it looked like a big corporation inside of a play to earn game. One genius thing I believe, Maurice, that Big Time did was Big Time created. Here's the reason why Axie got got built out the way it did, or the reason that those big corporations formed was because the lower class people, or the people with less money, or the smaller holders, they couldn't afford the assets to build a guild or to build up enough gaming assets to actually do it themselves. So they were forced to work for the wealthier people, or the people that had more assets and more money, to make a very small fraction of what the others were making, because they never were able to compile enough money to actually buy the assets, and the assets were ungodly priced, to be honest with you. So one thing I'll give credit to Big Time on is they created a rental program so that really anybody can gather the assets needed to monetize at a high level. So instead of having these big empires like Axie did with lords that ruled over everyone because they owned all the assets, Big Time, for a fraction of what it would cost to buy the asset, you can rent the asset on a monthly basis and monetize that asset and make 3 or 4x of whatever it costed you to rent it. So anybody can get involved into the monetary play of Big Time. You don't have to be a big, cyber lord of assets. You can literally be someone in anywhere in the world that doesn't have much money or much of a say, and you can literally build up an empire yourself because you can go rent the assets that are then turning a profit for you every month, and you can continue to grow that footprint you have, making you more and more money each month. So it's almost more like the American model, where you can be born into any economic class, and if you work hard enough and stay focused, you can really rise to the top. And it's one of the few countries where that can happen. I would know, because that's where I'm from. And so we want to do something similar to where the small guys, first of all, we want to give them a voice. How we're going to do that, I'm still trying to figure that out, because as far as voting goes, obviously the more tokens you have, the more of a vote you're going to hold. So I'm trying to figure out a way um, to neutralize that and to make everyone have a more of an even voice. And I haven't figured that out yet, and so I don't have a specific answer, but we're meddling through that, and we're trying to figure out a solution. Second, we want to create games to where you don't have to be a very wealthy person, or a person of connections, or a person of influence to get the assets and to build a small empire. We want to make it so that the little guy can come in and he'll have the same opportunity that everyone else has to get to the top if he stays focused and works hard enough. So we are working on that to ensure that everyone will have an equal opportunity in the games, and they're not going to have a massive amount of cash or assets early on to climb their way up the economic ladder in the monetary play to earn gaming system.
You guys could almost go like the Blake Media model from Mr. Deeds. Every token holder gets a vote, right?
Exactly, and I've actually thought about that. Maybe it's not how many tokens you hold, it's how many votes you have. Maybe it's every token holder gets a vote, and every vote's equal. And I'm not opposed to that model. So, like I said, we're throwing around different ideas, in the war room, but that's definitely a very realistic possibility for us.
And again, like you guys, really, really realistic approach, I think would be the best way to classify, everything I've heard and what you're building out. So, like right now, what's in front of you guys for the next couple of weeks? You're coming up to your 1 month anniversary of the DGI token itself on February 17th. Just walk us through the next 2 weeks, what the community initiatives and some of the stuff you guys might be rolling out over that shorter time frame.
So we're going to be launching our staking program. So our reward staking program is going to go live. We're doing the final audits on that now because we want to make sure it's, bulletproof, and we would never want a hack or something to happen to our community. So our plan is to roll that out in the coming days. Couldn't be more excited about that. And, our community will start to participate in the rewards program, in the performance of what we're doing on the other end with DGI Gamer, DGG. We're finalizing a deal with a tier 1 exchange. So keep your eyes out for that in the coming weeks as well. We're also going to be launching. We're going to be announcing another partnership or two with some more play to earn games. And so we're just going to keep the ball rolling, the momentum rolling. And we're working on some really cool stuff with the VC we just partnered with as well to bring even some more exciting additions to the community. So guys, keep your eyes peeled. We're just going to keep adding value to this community, to this token, and hopefully, we'll be rewarded through holding the token and its appreciation over the coming weeks, months, and hopefully, this project is here for the long haul. We think it is. Our team has historically built very large companies in other verticals, so we're just applying those same principles to the crypto community, which, from what I've seen since I got involved in 2016, 2017, is a lot of dreamers, but not a lot of doers. A lot of projects come in and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They never do any of it, and they just want to get a group of people excited so that they buy this token, where we're coming in as a profitable company, and we want to continue growing that profit and letting the token holders realize that profit, similar to like a public company that has stock and they give out dividends to their shareholders. We want to do the same thing with our token holders. So we're taking more of a principle of, we're running this like a real business. It's a profitable business. We're going to keep growing that profit, keep expanding the business, keep acquiring and building different games, different partnerships. And, I think we can turn this into a monster. And I couldn't be more excited, Maurice.
I mean, I'm pretty excited for what you guys are going to be able to cook up on like the mid to long term side of things. But I did want to give everybody that shorter time frame, because the way the space works, if you hit somebody with, we're doing this in 3 months, sometimes they're not interested. For me personally, that's bullish, because if somebody actually has the belief that they're going to be around 3 months from now, like, I'm willing to watch and listen. Especially when at the initial stages, you guys have had a successful launch. You've been building. The numbers on the back end are going to be able to reward people as the staking protocol goes live, because there's revenue already being generated. So yeah, like, it's an exciting opportunity, I think, for people, because of the fact that there's multiple pieces kind of functioning already behind the scenes, right? So it's not one of those conversations like, oh, this is coming in 3 months. We're already doing something, but in 3 months, this is where we hope to be, right? So I really like what you guys are doing. I did want to, however, if we can, just spend a little bit of time walking through, the tokenomics and the actual rev kind of distribution or breakdowns a little bit more in depth, if we could, just for everybody who's listening, because, that is a really big piece. And as you guys maybe scale out your own gaming, I am curious to see how the token may have additional use cases come into play.
Definitely. So as you guys know, probably most of you know, we did a fair launch So we just rolled the project out into the market at a very minimal market cap. I think it was $2,500. So really everyone had a chance to buy in, and it was, how we try to operate just as fair as possible. It did bite us in the butt a little bit because a few bots sniped us and created some sell pressure early on, but it is what it is. And, you live and you learn. So overall, we're very, very happy with where things have gone in the first 3.5 weeks. As far as tokenomics, so all the tokens are out trading in the market, except for we held back 20%. 10% was for future exchanges. Obviously, they require quite a bit of tokens to get on the exchange for market making, so on and so forth. So we held back 10% there. And then we had held back another 10% for strategic airdrops to different communities, whether that be, big times token holders, or other strategic communities where we can do airdrops to further increase our exposure into our community. So we did hold back 20. The other 80% is trading freely throughout the market. There's, I think, 1.3 or 1.6% of the 20 million has already gone out to get on the 2 exchanges we're currently on, which are Mexi and BitGet. And we're working on a couple more exchanges as we speak. So that's really the tokenomics. As far as the staking goes, the way it will work is you need to stake for the entire month. So let's just use March as an example, since it's coming up next month. So we would roll out the staking in the coming days. You'll stake your token. Let's say you stake your token for the entire month of March. Let's say the guild or our collection of assets produce a revenue of $300,000. 50% of that, or $150,000, will go into that staking protocol for the month of March. It will be paid out on the middle of next month. So April 15th is when the rewards for the month of March will be paid out. And you need to have been staking that whole time to receive and realize those rewards. And the community should like this because it further incentivizes people to want to stake their tokens, alleviates a lot of sell pressure. And we're rewarding in stable tokens. It's not a native token, which further alleviates more sell pressure. So it truly is like a real dividend. So for a month, you have to stake it the entire month. For that month, then that revenue we'll see what we did in revenue that month. Let's say it's 300,000. The following month, on the 15th of the following month, 50% of that will go into the staking rewards program, and it will be allocated evenly, based pro rata on how many tokens you hold and how many people are staking. So if 1,000 people were each staking an even amount of tokens, that 150,000 would go in and be broken up pro rata. And yeah, you would get your stable coins, and that will continue month over month. And that's really why we want to layer in our own gaming ecosystem with our own games, because we know we can substantially increase the reward staking. We want people to start making some serious money off of the staking and have a serious return from staking their tokens. So that's why we really want to transition into the gaming studio model versus just a guild model. You can make good money with a guild, but not the kind of money we're looking to distribute back to our token holders. So yeah, with that being said, the utility will continue to increase as this company grows. We're less than a month old from token launch, so we're relatively new in the grand scheme of things. And there's going to be ways to utilize the DGI token throughout all of our games. We'll probably do some different betting games, and you'll be able to utilize the DGI token for the betting. And also, we're looking at some different nodes that you'll be able to place your tokens in as well to further increase your rewards for the DGI token. And some other things are in the brainchild as well. So we want to give this token as much utility as possible moving forward. And we feel that, with what we have in our roadmap, what we're working on, and the team at hand, we're going to be able to do that.
Awesome. And I actually had, an interesting question kind of get sent over to me while you were going through that. And they were curious, like, what your approach is on almost reviving projects, because we talked about it a bit with regards to like how the P2E has been a very difficult model to sustain, but that doesn't mean some of the gaming concepts or the games themselves maybe haven't been good, haven't been highly addictive, highly played, but maybe the model on the tokenomics side just didn't allow the project to grow. So a member of our community was curious, like, what your stance is as a project on incubation when it comes to newer ideas versus reviving concepts or games that are already built out, but maybe we're lacking on the tokenomics side.
Great question, Maurice, and from the community. So we get approached. Actually, I've been approached by a dozen games because there was a huge boom in 21 and part of 22 where the liquidity in the space was astounding with the oncoming of the whole NFT craze, and then the play to earn game thing came out. So I've been approached by a lot of games, and some of them are really cool games. They just ran out of money, and they're like, we're having a hard time raising again to launch this game. And they a lot of times you're right, they don't have the tokenomics or the play to earn part of the game nailed. And we feel that we do have someone at our disposal that's very, very good at the play to earn side of this. And so we are, and like I said, we built our own game, but we're also negotiating with some other games where we may roll them into our ecosystem. And these games did have a messed up tokenomic system for the play to earn game, and they did run out of money, but they're a really cool game, and they're very, very close to being ready to go to market. So we are exploring that optionality of bringing some of these games to market that are already built. We just need to fine tune them and make sure that the in-game economy is right so that they won't collapse. And we do have an expert at our disposal to help us with that structure. Designing our own games is obviously, something that's near and dear to our heart. And the first game that is in-house, like I said, will be launched in 90, 100 days, somewhere in that time frame. And also, one other thing I didn't mention early on, but we want to create a launch pad so that we become the gaming engine for new games and have newcomers come to us and be like, hey, we have this really cool idea. We have the architecture frame, the wireframe built out for this game, but we don't have the money or the community or the resources to launch it. And come up with an incubator, come up with a launch pad where we can again give the little guy a chance to launching something that was just an idea into something that becomes a powerful machine in the P2E space moving forward. So lot of things we're working on, guys, between our own game development, between reviving old games that are really cool concepts, they just never made it to market. And we hope that, we become the go-to place for play to earn gaming, Web3, GameFi. And over time, we just want to keep rolling out more and more titles, and hopefully there's a taste for everyone's appetite in there.
And I actually, on top of that, our community member, Nita, who's sent some really good questions in the past, she's curious, with the way that the landscape is evolving with regards to blockchain gaming and some of these different technologies coming out, we'll utilize Apple Vision Pro as an example. How do you maybe plan to throw your hat in the ring as a team at DGI into the fields of gaming within virtual reality or augmented reality, as these two fields seem like they're getting closer together? And I will agree that Apple Pro looks pretty sweet. I mean, I've seen some of the use cases for sporting. I mean, you could watch five basketball games at one time on your Vision Pro, and I'm all for that.
Yeah, and this is a great question. I'm anxiously awaiting the arrival of my Vision Pro myself. I should have picked it up in store, but I had it sent to me, unfortunately. So I'm waiting for that. I've seen the videos. The thing looks incredible. I do have the MetaQuest 3, but I think the Apple Vision is a whole nother animal, and I think it's going to change the way that we use on-head devices, just like it did with the Apple iPhone. I believe that smartphones will be a thing of the past in 4 to 5 years. I think everything will be on your face. Probably look like reading glasses and maybe even into contacts in the future. So I don't believe we'll be holding smartphones that much longer. With that being said, our first gaming title actually is VR. It will be on the Meta platform. We're currently working to try to get it into the Vision Pro as well. So it's funny that question came up. But yeah, our first game will be an immersive VR AR game where you're actually, you feel like you're part of that game, and couldn't be more excited. So even though it's still a smaller community, it's growing at a very rapid pace, and we really did bet on the Apple Vision Pros to accelerate the growth rate of this whole AR VR community. So Nita, thank you for that question. It tied in very well to what we have going on.
Yeah, no, and it also, it's kind of like that next leg of the gaming, or kind of, I'll say, more so the experience, right? I think that's what the allure of VR is. And I mean, personally, augmented reality is pretty awesome. We have a partner, Eli, and they've built out some really cool augmented reality applications. One for pets, one's for travel. So yeah, it's just, I'm personally super impressed with that field as a whole, and just the types of experiences people can get to try out via tech is pretty cool.
Totally, totally. And it's such a different experience from playing a game on your Xbox or PlayStation or PC to actually putting the headset on and becoming part of that atmosphere and that ecosystem. It's a whole nother world, and it really sucks you in on another level from what I've experienced.
Yeah, like they have one video where they have a portal out in the forest, and like their founder walks through the portal with his AR glasses on, and he go from being in a forest to all of a sudden you're walking through the snow on a mountaintop. And it was just like, holy shit, what am I looking at here? Right.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
I've
just,
I've
it's
gotten into
really
this
neat.
this machine where you put on the headset and then you lay flat on your belly on like this machine that flips you around and rotates you, and then you go into like a squirrel suit and you're flying through these canyons on the squirrel suit, and it feels like you're really there doing it. And
That
it's
would be
only getting
awesome.
more immersive and more realistic by the day. I mean, at some point the line's going to blur between reality and virtual.
And I love some of those futuristic movies that they've put out in the past. I mean, that movie Free Guy I thought was pretty funny. And yeah, like that kind of, like almost false reality or augmented reality, right? Virtual reality that we'll be able to create is getting closer and closer. And it's been talked about for 10, 15 years, but I think it's kind of like on the doorstep, right? And it's a pretty cool time, I think, to be alive in terms of the technology that we'll see released in our lifetime, and the things that people will be able to do with it, right? So yeah, I mean, I think
Absolutely.
you guys will be able to, as you continue to develop a brand, as you continue to develop a bigger user base, more holders, the types of projects or the scale of the projects that you guys can maybe invest in or incubate, like who knows the fields that it may cover in the future. And I think that's, as a gamer, uh pretty exciting. It's the potential aspect. I know any gamer in here knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's just the potential of being able to achieve something, or if challenges drop in a game, the potential to be able to get out there and crush them. And I mean, for you guys, get out there and participate in your passive income to earn, it's it's really cool. And I think the potential here at DGI with what you're doing and being so early is definitely impressed me, because your why makes sense, and I love your answers. Very approachable and very honest, which, like I said, a lot of times people try and give me the answer I want, but it's not always the answer I actually want. The answer I want is what's feasible. And you've been very transparent and very solid throughout the entire AMA with regards to just giving good, feasible, sustainable, like or reachable answers, like that aren't, quote unquote, like a pipe dream, right? So really respect to you, and the fact that you have, a base built over there at DGI so you can get up here and speak as openly as you do is definitely great from my end as a host who's talked to so many different projects. So yeah, man, really enjoy what you guys are doing. And just wanted to give you guys definitely a lot of respect from my end. Very, very impressed by what you've done. And I think some of the community questions, like as you've said, they're kind of aligning with where you guys are going to. So it seems like the community is kind of catching on to the vision and throwing in feedback that aligns with it, which is great for me to see. It seems like the AMA hit home, which is awesome.
Absolutely. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you, Maurice. You know your stuff, and it's always refreshing to work with someone and speak with someone that's on the same wavelength. And you did mention how we're very direct and our answers are maybe not what everyone wants to hear, but it's the truth. So one thing we'll always promise our community is honesty and transparency. Sometimes we're going to deliver news that people that necessarily didn't want to hear, but we're always going to be honest and transparent. And that's how you build a real following, a loyal following, and that's how you build a big company.
Yeah, and I actually had a really good question here from Attikin. So I know we've talked about a couple different projects in terms of like how you guys may look to revive or incubate different ideas, but this one focuses more on your staking protocol, on the revenue generation. Would you guys ever considering allowing other projects or partner projects to stake within your platform a different token to earn small or sub percentages of the revenue generated by your DGG? So, for example, you guys partner with X project and allow X project to stake a small amount, because obviously you don't want to take up a large amount of revenue share from your own holders, but stake a small amount of their own token within your protocol. And it would say, for example, generate or allow them a 2% cut. So you guys could almost do like, all this isn't part of the question. This is just how I would maybe approach it. Like you guys maybe monthly or or quarterly would allocate like 5 slots, 2% each to like 5 different partner projects, allow them to stake. And yeah, like that could be a way to get other communities to see and get engaged with your protocol and your community, and see the value of your staking pool. So again, I like the question. I'm just not a Solidity guy, so I wouldn't know from a dev perspective if that would be feasible, but I did like the way that he's kind of approached that question. So I had to.
What I like, Maurice, is his openness on how he's thinking about this. Because when we launch our own game, it's really easy, right? If we say, all right, we're launching XYZ game, 50% of the revenue this game generates is flowing back to our token holders. That's an easy concept to understand. But when I go to another game that we're striking partnerships with, it's like, all right, well, we don't own the game. You guys own the game, but we want to synergistically work together. So how do we do that? And that's some of the things we've been exploring is how does a different entity attach to DGI so that it's a win-win scenario for both companies, for the DGI community and for the other game. And so one of the ways we explored that was, well, what if the token holders from the other games were staking into DGI? And so that concept has been discussed and explored, and we are looking at that and seeing if that's a feasible concept within our protocols and within our devs' abilities to do that. And also some other ways is dropping rewards from the games to our token holders as well to see if they get free rewards and maybe that they want to start engaging in a game that we have a partnership with. So there's, I don't know, maybe a handful of different ways that we're looking at working with games outside of our umbrella that are not owned by us. And we do want to find a solution on how to work with these other games because we want it to be a very large ecosystem of synergies, but not only between us and our games, but also outsiders and their games, and how we can all work together to achieve a common goal. So great question. Definitely exploring things of that nature.
Yeah, no, Attican, really, really interesting question. And I did want to make sure I dropped it to you. And something you said as well, kind of sparked an idea to me too. So like we can definitely chat a little bit in DMs and yeah, no, again, I think that that ability to engage with different communities would be really big. Now the asset drop is something I wanted to go into because I love that idea, right? Because the nice thing about is, doing those maybe monthly or something bonus asset drops so that people can actually get in with those assets and participate maybe more directly in some of your partner games that they're earning passive income through the staking. I love that because 2 reasons. One, you're not putting any negative pressure on your DGI chart via selling assets in other games. So phenomenal. Correct. Because it doesn't impact you guys as a project. And 2, it, for those maybe smaller holders who would be those who are more likely to participate and play the games, like you're going to really give another layer of incentive for them. You know, if it's via a contest or something based on engagement, you may really get some good numbers driven via those smaller holders who wouldn't necessarily, like you said, be able to go out and purchase some of those higher value assets on their own. So I think there's a really good incentivization on the project because it's not a negative impact. There's a lot of incentive on the smaller holder specifically, but also if you're a larger holder, I mean, who doesn't like getting a valuable asset dropped in your wallet, right? So there's
Exactly.
value all around. So I mean, personally, I love that, and I think you guys could really do some cool community engagement initiatives around those asset drops, like contests and maybe for some of your partner games, do a week-long contest if there's like a free or a lower tier option that they can go in and play. Whoever has like the highest play time over the week within one of your partners. Like there's just so many cool different ways you can engage your community around the different partners and games that you are working with. It will also give you guys more leverage to land larger partners and larger assets in
Totally.
game, right? Because
Totally.
so awesome. I'm just kind of thinking all the ideas and the side benefits, or the silver lining, if you will, is kind of just snowballing on the back end. So I love that idea, and I can't wait to see kind of the expansion on that and how the community receives it.
So we're definitely Caesar. Excuse me, Maurice. I love where your head is at, and you and I think in very similar channels. So back to the question, we're definitely going to explore different staking protocols with other projects, but we're definitely going to pursue the in-game asset drops, bonus drops to our community, and I love the idea of the contests and different things as well. So Maurice, definitely shoot me a DM after this, and we'll continue rapping.
For sure. I'll get let me just flip you open profile, drop you a quick DM there just so you have my contacts. And yeah, we'll chat. And I already told Pius, we're going to look to set up a couple of different guest spots for you guys in some of the different spaces that we speak in.
Oh, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, really impressed again by what you've done, and you're a great speaker. So I think with projects like this, you need to get out in front of our audiences and be able to articulate your vision and what you're building so that people can connect, and you do a great job of that. So happy to bring you guys and try and get you a little bit of extra exposure, although you're already doing a great job on your own, right? Less than a month old, over 1,000 holders, great, almost 10K followers on Twitter so far. And it's from the way it looks, very organic in this stage. So definitely impressed me, in the early stages with this one over there, Wizard.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate all the kind words.
I mean, you guys earn it. That's what everyone's like. Yo, Maurice, you've gone soft a little bit lately. You're not as hard on projects. What's up? I'm like, no, just like I said, we're not doing pre-launch really much anymore. So I don't have all those hesitations about what could happen with the CA and getting sniped and all of that. We're working with active charts most of the time, and we're really focusing on good teams, quality teams, even if it's a first time working with them. Like you guys definitely, in terms of the sauce behind it, like you look like you have something unique going on. I love it in terms of the fact that revenue is already coming in, because how many times are tokens live for 6 months before revenue gets distributed back, right? So you guys are already ahead of the curve in terms of utility and distribution of revenue. So I mean, there's not a lot of holes I can pick. You've done a great job. The liquidity to market cap ratio is there. The concept is there. The fact that there's not impact on your own token via the staking protocol to cause sell pressure. You've already covered that. You've clearly done a lot of market analysis in terms of, flaws in past P2Es or gaming projects. So yeah, again, I speak positively about projects when the projects have, done their job to earn their spot here, and you guys have definitely done so. But I had one more question I did want to cover off that I liked. If you could just give me a second. So I might actually get, hey, Jitters, I don't know if you're listening. I don't really fully understand. He had a question about open, like like if you guys are going to have the ability for devs to maybe create games for your ecosystem via some kind of open source code. I didn't really fully understand the question, so I was going to see if he's listening. He could throw up his hand and jump on stage and maybe break it down for me. Because
Yeah,
the second part has to do with storage of user information and whatnot. And I know that's a pretty important thing when we're talking about gaming. Because if you talk about Xbox, PlayStation, PC, you don't play anything without having an account or a gamer tag or a username, and that's already
correct.
linked to an email and a credit card and all this stuff. So any traditional gamer already is used to that setup. But for some reason, when it comes to crypto and you have to give any information, everyone gets all weird. So that's where the second part of his question comes in. Is there any form of data collection that you guys are doing on your end with regards to your users in games, and how secure is it? That's his second part. But that's easy to understand. But I didn't understand his first part about the open source code and app development around your ecosystem.
So if it is truly the question of, is there going to be open source for people to come on? Yes, the Launchpad will allow devs and gamer enthusiasts to come on and try their hand at building their own protocols. So that is a hard yes. As far as collecting users' data, we're going back and forth on that because there's pros and cons. Obviously, it's good to KYC your people, but at the same time, that scares a lot of people off, and they don't want to deal with it because they like the anonymous factor of cryptocurrency. So we're going back and forth as far as how aggressively we're going to KYC. As far as credit cards and cash and all that, we're going to have terminals inside of our ecosystem to where you can exchange. There'll be very secure terminals where you can actually exchange other cryptocurrencies for DGI or other gaming tokens that are in our ecosystem, or cash or card or whatever you want to use. So there will be almost like ATM terminals inside of the ecosystem where you can exchange different cryptocurrencies, cash, credits, stuff like that for different cryptocurrencies, DGI, or other tokens you may utilize to play inside the games.
And I saw Jitters throw his hand up, so I'll just get him off the mic quickly just to kind
Yep,
of respond,
please.
elaborate if you needed to, any additional details on the question. Jitters, hopefully your mic's okay. I appreciate you throwing your hand up. You can jump in if you're ready or if you needed any additional details, man.
Thank you very much, Maurice. Thank you very much. Regarding the question, actually, like he said before, I was trying to know if it's gonna be open source. I was looking at for gaining more traction in the Web3 side of things. A lot of investors would have external developers or developers themselves. They may want to contribute to the project, to the gaming project, right? I see a lot of projects having that. They want to contribute. And so making your source code open source, kind of like giving developers, easy access, not to your actual source code, but to access for them to create games, other games or plugins. You could call them plugins or third-party applications that you could be able to add to your game. It helps to build, the game. I would say the ecosystem. It helps to build the ecosystem. It makes a lot of features come in and expand. A lot of these features you add. But yeah, he answered the question. They're going to be open source. And talking about the other of my question. Okay, it's about data. Okay, so I noticed recently people don't really give consent to data usage. So when building an application, it will be, I would say, wise if you're gonna ask users, do you want us to have access to your data? And then if they're willing to give the data, perhaps location, name, things like that, these informations is gonna go a long way, in making your project also grow, because you could even promote promotional content, and send this to their emails. They're gonna be the first to know about the latest updates, of your game and features. It also helps, your game to be up in the game, right? In the competition, right, of other games that has, similar features.
Totally. Love everything you said, CC Jitters, and we'll definitely take all that into consideration and most likely implement. I don't think you had any bad ideas in everything that you said.
Cool. Thank you very much. And sorry, Maurice, that you were not able to answer my question. To ask me the question because the question was, I would say, a bit confusing, not really organized. But yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to
Yeah,
explain.
no, I always try, and I know you're always kind of thinking as you're going through your questions, which I'm kind of the same way. So I don't mind it. I always try and piece together what I can, but if I need clarification, I'll always just kind of get you to jump on stage or send you some DMs and communicate back and forth till we figure it out. But yeah, no, appreciate you as always, Jitters, jumping in. I know it's been a couple of months since we've had you live on the mic, so hope you're having a great start to 2024 over there, and I'm sure we'll see you around.
Thanks, Jitters.
Yeah,
Appreciate the time.
thank you very much.
Awesome. So again, from my end, I just going through to make sure some of the questions. I know we covered a few of what Buck had sent me earlier. We covered Mac Daddy's question about the revival of the game. So Mac, thanks for sending that one through. Okay, so this one is from XO. Their question is, so you guys are a major asset holder in Big Time. Like, are there any special benefits that you guys receive in a player like, or in a game like Big Time as such a big asset holder? Are any of these other in-game benefits or rewards you guys may receive as being large asset holders able to kind of trickle down to holders? So I think he's trying to figure out if there's like bonuses or anything you guys may receive within those other ecosystems from holding such large asset quantities, and then if there's a way for those maybe passive income rewards from other ecosystems to trickle down back to be distributed further within the DGI ecosystem. That would probably be the best way I could simplify or break down that question, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Maurice. Unfortunately, no, as one of the biggest players in the game or other games, we don't get any special circumstances or rewards from the game. So they keep it pretty even keeled. They don't give us preferential treatment because we're such a big player. Obviously, I have direct communication to the decision makers at these games, but they don't give us any preferential or special treatment opposed to any other gamer. They want to keep their ecosystem very fair and favorable to everybody. So it'd be great if they did, but unfortunately they don't.
And I mean, we touched on this earlier when we had the conversation about like kind of Big Time versus Axie. And like, that's one of the reasons why you guys went and chose Big Time as a potential like game to pick up and secure assets in, because you like the sustainability model on their ecosystem much better. And the fact that they focused on equality versus catering to larger holders like we've seen in the past with Axie and their scholarship system. So
totally. Yeah,
you
nailed it.
Your answer makes sense based on what you've said previously in the AMA. But I do like the question from
It's a good question. And it should be, I'd want to know too. So I totally get it.
Yeah, because there are teams who will definitely keep things in house, but the thing that I picked up on is the reason you pick Big Time is because they're in kind of open model ecosystem and they focus on everybody, and that aligns with what you guys are looking to do.
And don't get it twisted. The big asset holders, I'm not saying us, but a lot of the big asset holders in Big Time do expect and ask for preferential treatment, and it's not given to them. So that's created a little bit of a frenzy as well.
I mean, for me, that's a bullish thing, right? Because I want to know that the decision makers or those in charge can't be swayed by money, right?
Totally. And the main decision maker at Big Time is very well off, so he's not able to be bought.
You typically have to be to build out an NFT in a gaming ecosystem like that, because those are not cheap enterprises to run and scale.
Correct. No, you nailed it. That thing's a
Awesome.
machine.
No, man, again, really, really impressed by the ecosystem here. I think the questions alongside what we already discussed, really high value, guys. You guys picked some great kind of avenues to throw your questions in for. And Nita, Jitters, who else did we get one? EXO, Mac Daddy, I asked one for. Nita and Attican. All really good questions, guys. So I do appreciate you all kind of jumping in and throwing back some feedback and listening to the entire AMA. Really good stuff, and I can't wait to feature you guys on a few different spaces. I think our partners and the other panelists will be really impressed by what you're building there. So
Maurice, I'd
outside of
love
the
to, sorry to cut you off. On another one of our episodes that we do, I'd love to give you guys a tour of some of our gaming assets, so we can do a screen share.
definitely. I
Yeah,
would
that would be
love,
great.
if you guys have a VC or you guys are doing like an in-house AMA one night, like let me know. Just give me a heads up, like a couple
All
hours
right,
notice,
perfect.
and I'll pop in and have some fun with you. We'll get a little mini AMA going in your own community.
A lot of people say, how do we know you really have these assets? You could just be saying that. I'm like, listen, I'm more than happy to hop on anytime with anyone and like walk through all the assets. We have nothing to hide here. So
I'm really impressed, and I mean we have our traditional spaces, but there's also some larger connections or contacts I've sat on stage with and kind of made acquaintances with in the sphere of X. So maybe they're not on the average spaces that I do, but I have made some pretty good connections, and some larger gaming ones at that, who do like reviews, run their own kind of like crypto websites, crypto newspapers, articles, media sites. So yeah, definitely this one's really cool. I like the
that,
focus on the assets. I like that you guys have the vision of changing people's perspective on how crypto or P2E gaming should work, right, from a sustainability standpoint. And yeah, really really unique, great presentation so far from what I've seen. Phenomenal speaker, and like I said, for me it's the why that allows me to speak the way I do about the project, because I'm impressed by how you answer the questions, not just what you're saying. So yeah,
thank you.
great stuff all around. I'll give you the mic if you want to close out, give us any final calls to action. But we will be seeing you, I'm sure, in the next week on at least one space, and then we'll be planning out some future ones, in the coming months. So really impressed. Great work. For anybody who hasn't yet, my last call to action for me is just go into their community, check out their website, do your research. And if you have any additional questions, drop them in their Telegram. Clearly, these guys are not afraid to answer anything. So yeah, DJ, final words.
Yeah. So guys, thanks for joining us today. I see there's over 350 people, listening in. Really enjoy getting on here with Maurice and kind of just laying out, what we have going on, where we're going, our trajectory. We have very, very large aspirations in the coming weeks, months, years, and so on. And so I would just invite all you guys to go to our website, dgi.game, take a look. I'd be honored if, you guys want to hop on board and join us on this journey. And, historically, I've built some very large companies in other verticals. So I can promise you this is going to be a ride for the ages, and would love to have you guys on board in our community. And we're going to pull off some really cool stuff. So thanks for your time today, guys. I know it's been a good hour and a half here or so, but we've had a great time. Maurice has been an excellent host. So thank you to you and Caesar and everyone else on your team. And we look forward to hopping on again and giving you guys some more spicy stuff in the coming days and weeks.
And again, to yourself and to Pius, I just have to say, big thank you. And I really do appreciate you guys, jumping in. I apologize for starting the call a little bit late, man. Again, I appreciate the flexibility. I kind of let Pius know a little bit what's been going on with me behind the scenes. And yeah, he's an awesome guy as well. So big shout out to you and Pius. Just, I would have been a little bit crushed if we didn't get to do the AMA, because I was really excited. I did a couple hours of prep last night, after
Amazing.
information, and really was impressed by what you're building. And yeah, AMA was great. Your answers are phenomenal. The community seemed to really enjoy it. We got some great questions that fit really well into the discussion topics that we had going on. And
Very well.
myself, you had some great answers, and I am personally impressed by what you're building. So we will be in touch, man. I can't wait to kind of, learn a lot more. I mean, this is just my first touch point even for me. So I can't wait to kind of learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing, and kind of engage myself with your community in some of those VCs and the AMAs you do in house. I'll definitely jump in and kind of participate in one of those. That'd be a lot of fun. So, let me know in DMs. You got my contact info. We'll chop it up over there. I'll drop you and Pius the recording after we're done, so you have at least the base model. And then the YouTube side, our video guy, he was just away for a week or two, kind of just took some time off, spent some time back home, went to visit his mom. So he is feeling refreshed. He's back, he's crushing it. He's kind of going through the backlogged AMAs. So I'm not putting any pressure on him to get it done. I'll say maybe the YouTube side will be up for this weekend, if that's okay, just because he does have about 4 or 5 to get through, and he's doing about 1 a day just to keep the updates kind of consistent for the YouTube. So yeah, I'd say maybe Saturday on the AMA upload, if that's okay. It's typically about 24, 48 hour turnaround, but we're just a little backlogged right now. So I do want to set the kind of the right standard up front, just so you guys aren't waiting for anything on the back end, if that works.
All good, brother. We appreciate you having us on and making it work today under some unfortunate circumstances. So
Yeah, no, everything's good. Just kind of wasn't expecting to get a call from my parents. My mom has an appointment she has to come down to the city for in a couple of weeks. And just, yeah, my parents are 70. My dad just had his 75th birthday yesterday.
Wow.
So yeah, so they're older, and they're kind of afraid of the city because of how much traffic there is. They don't like to drive in that much traffic. So
Totally.
yeah, I have to either drive up and pick my mom up, or drive up and then take the train down with her, and then train back up with her, and then drive myself back down to the city. So we're just coordinating what it will be, but yeah. So I apologize, man. And again, I'm really, really happy you guys came on, but I do have to give a shout out to your community and say this, just thank you. And I'm excited to continue working with DGI in the future. So this just the first of many touch points, hopefully here.
Thank you, Maurice. We look forward to connecting again very soon, and I'll hit you up in DMs, my man.
Awesome. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for the understanding. I know I say it 10 times, but a lot of times this space is very unforgiving. So when people are actually flexible and kind, it does go a long way for me. So, once again, I appreciate that to you and Pius. Really awesome group of individuals you guys got behind the scenes there. And the project itself has really impressed me. So yeah, we'll see you on a space, and just drop me that DM anytime for that AMA, man. I'd be happy to jump in.
Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you soon. All the best.
Cheers.
All right.
Have a great day.